first of all, what is market geometry? Some of you newcomers might not know what that is. So Forex market geometry refers to a trading style which uses geometric patterns to find the ideal setup in the market. So it's very simple. We look for shapes and patterns that will, establish in the market, and we look to trade these patterns. So we've moved past the geometric patterns. So we've moved past the harmonic patterns, should I say. So we've finished those. Those are on previous recordings. So if you want to go back and watch those, feel free to do so. Again, I'll drop the link in the chat box to the Telegram group so you can have a look at those. We're going to be moving on to alternative patterns. So the ones that you see in front of you now. Don't panic. We're not going to go through every single one of them today, so you don't have to take millions of notes. We're just going to keep it simple. We're going to start with a couple of patterns first. So the first one that we're going to be going into is the rectangle pattern, okay? So keeping it simple, we're going for the rectangle pattern. I'm going to show you an example of a bullish and a bearish variant as well, okay? So let's get straight into this. Right, perfect. So there's a lot of information on the screen to take in. I'm just going to break it down bit by bit, okay? So when the rectangle sort of pattern forms, essentially what you need is when price hits the resistance and support levels at least twice each, okay? So its consolidation occurs at the bottom of a downtrend, which is called a bottom rectangle, okay? So this is a bottom rectangle, which is a bearish continuation, okay? So that's the primary sort of pattern that we're looking at today, okay? And it's formed of a support and resistance zone, okay? So essentially what this is, they're parallel horizontal lines, which price, rejects off of, okay, or bounces off of. So once it has come to that point, so this resistance point, it would then reject off and then come to the support again and reject, and then come to resistance. So I should have numbered these to make it a bit more easier to understand. So this would be the first sort of rejection from the support. This would be the first rejection from the resistance. So we've got one on each side. And then this would be the second rejection from the support and the second rejection from the resistance. And that's when we have our confirmation that we are now looking at a rectangle pattern. And because we're in a sort of like a bearish trend, we're looking for a bearish sort of movement, breakout of the support, right? So once this breakout comes, so if the breakout of our support, this is sort of like a signal for a continuation of the trend, okay, to sort of sell, to get into this market for a sell. So I'm just going to do this. So it's very, very, very simple the way this works. It's not as complicated as the harmonic patterns. We don't have to look for certain percentages with, the Fibonacci retracement tool. It's very simple. You have a resistance and support level. Price action has to reject from these levels at least twice. And then we're either looking for a continuation of the trend. So in this case, a downtrend, so a breakout of the support, okay? Or the other side to that being a reversal, okay? So as mentioned here, it depends on the breakout direction. This pattern can either be a reversal or a trend continuation. So if price then did not come to this point and break out, if it came up to this point and broke out, it would then be a reversal, trend reversal, okay? So same sort of concept. We're looking for the break. We can get in at the retest, so the retest of the previous support, and we can look to enter at that point. And then we can place our stop loss above the resistance, okay? Depending on the sort of distance between the support and resistance, it could be, quite a lot of pips. So you might just want to place the stop loss just above the support, okay? which would protect your resistance, your stop loss at that point. So having said all of this, does anybody have any questions regarding this pattern, how it works? Any questions whatsoever, feel free to pop them in the chat. I will continue, and if anybody is confused about anything, I'm more than happy to clarify these sort of things with you. So I'm going to move on to a blank page. I'm going to show everyone how it works. So let's say we've gone from a downward trend, okay? So let's have a look. We're on Euro USD right now. So right now, Euro USD, can anybody pop in the chat how Euro USD is trending right now? So what trend are we looking at for Euro USD? Can anybody pop that in the chat for me? That'd be great. So we're looking at a downward trend, okay? Amazing. Perfect. So we're looking at a bearish trend. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. So when we're looking for a rectangle pattern, remember we need the 2 points of the resistance, the two sort of touch points, and the same for the support as well, okay? And then we're looking for the breakout to the downside to break that support level, okay? So if we have a look at Euro USD, I have not gone into this previously, so this is just a blank sort of page. Let's have a quick look if we can see any touch points to form a rectangle pattern, and a continuation of that as well. So let's have a look. No, so that doesn't count. So this, I suppose this, okay, that wouldn't really count as one. Let's have a look. Okay. Let me drop it into a lower time frame. We might be able to find something on a different time frame. So this looks okay. This spot looks actually really good for the rectangle pattern. I've just dropped it into a lower time zone, a time frame, should I say. Let's see. So it was right here. So let's see. Okay, that's I'm just gonna go back to this 1 hour. Okay, I'm gonna use this as an example. It's not the perfect example that I would look for, but nonetheless, it does work for this. So let's look. So okay, perfect. So if we have a look at this here, so we've got the downward trend. We've established what trend we're in, and we're looking for the support and resistance zones first. So we can see a resistance right here, resistance level right here. Okay, so let's mark that up properly. So that's the resistance. Let's pop that down. So resistance. So that's the resistance. And then we also have the support level here. So we have the support, which will make green. Okay. So this is support. Okay. So what do we need? What's the first thing we need to establish that this is a rectangle pattern? So what's one of the the things that make this pattern valid? Two touches on either side. Perfect. So we need the two touches on either side. So on the resistance and the support levels. Okay. So let's have a look at that. Let's see how this works. So we come into the support and resistance zone. So we've got the first touch here, the second touch here, right? I would look at this as sort of like a continuation because price hasn't really come to this support. It's sort of like in between, and then it's continued down here. So you got the first touch there, second touch here, and then you got the first resistance touch there and the second touch here, and then price comes down here. It breaks out, it slightly breaks out, but then I'm assuming this candle is a news candle, but then price just drops off there. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. And then let's say, for example, we're looking to enter this. This is a very sort of generalized question for traders when they look to get into a trade. What time frame do we usually get into trades on? Do we use a higher time frame, a lower time frame? Do we use a specific time frame where we look to get into trades? Lower time frame, fantastic. Yes, we do. So if we switch to a lower time frame and we go back to that position, so there it is, perfect. So let's have a look at what price did. So price broke out here slightly, did come back in and broke back out. I'm assuming this red candle is a news candle. It looks like a very volatile candle, especially on the 15 minutes if it's still wicking up into our zone, our rectangle zone. So let me come back to it on the 5 minute. Yeah, it's definitely a news candle. So it's not the most perfect example in the world. There can be a better example on here somewhere. However, just for today's session, what we could look to get in on this once it sort of breaks this zone here. And again, if you place your stop loss above the resistance, again, you can see here that price didn't go above that resistance level. Okay. So let me have a look at these levels so we can sort of figure out where we would get in and where we could look to place our stop loss, etc. So let's see. Okay, so that's inside the zone. We want to get in outside of this zone. Let me have a look. So if we got in here, this is kind of like a fake out. So the price came out, the price action came out, and then went back in, and then just dropped straight away. So ideally, we would enter at this point here, 250. Yeah, so I would personally enter at this point here. So let's change this. So let's do 250. And then let's do entry. So I would enter here at this point, right here. And then we want to place our stop loss. So let's place our stop loss. Let's do 30 pips. Again, we can place it above the resistance, which 30 pips is above the resistance anyway. We can place it lower. So we can put our stop loss like at 500. So let's change that. Let's do 500. Stop loss. Okay, now there's one thing that we did not cover. If anybody could point that out, that'd be fantastic. If anybody like realizes there's something that we haven't covered. We've covered the entry point, we've covered the stop loss. I need to change that color. This is triggering me. Let's put that stop loss at red. Does anybody know what we've missed? Take profit. Fantastic, because that's what we're all here for. We want to be able to take our money out of the market, right? So we need to do that with a take profit. Okay. How do we measure the take profit? Does anybody know? Can anybody throw that out there? I haven't said it, but I might have a veteran trader on here. So the way we do that is we would measure the distance between the resistance and the support. Okay. So let's measure the pip count between them. So let me just raise this slightly because it's not at the perfect level. There it goes. Right. So let's count this. So that's about 18 pips. We can round it off to 20 pips. So let's have a look. You could also look at previous price action to do this. However, with regards to the rectangle sort of pattern, it's recommended to look at the distance between the support and resistance and having that, so we can place it around 107, 100. So we could do that. So let's do that. So 107, 100. And this would be our take profit. You can, however, implement your own risk to reward into this, okay? So as an example, the stop loss was 30 pips. If we wanted to do 30 pips, it would have been 550, I think it was. Yeah, 550. So it would have been slightly above. It would have been above the resistance zone. And then if you want to input take profit as 30 pips or 60 pips, you can also do that. But going off of previous support and resistance zones, this looks like a really good take profit. So if you can see here, this is sort of like a support on this section here. So obviously having your TP before that just means that it's more likely to hit that, right? It's more likely to hit your TP. Thankfully, because we are looking at a trend continuation, we can always increase our stop loss, and we can always sort of, increase the take profit as well, right? So once we push our stop loss into profit past break even, as you can see here, we could have, moved our stop loss a lot further in. We could move it to our previous take profit and then move our take profit a bit lower. So let me just do that. So we could move it to this point here, for example. But if you're going off of the fundamentals of this pattern, again, you would use so it was 107, 100. So you would use the distance between the support and resistance zone to calculate your take profit. Okay, perfect. And so we're doing trend continuations, right? What if we look at a trend reversal, for example? So let me have a look for a trend reversal, and then we can mark that one up as well for the rectangle pattern. So I'm just going to quickly find a trend reversal. So we're in a downwards trend here. Can anybody say what trend we're looking for? So we're looking for a upwards trend, the reversal. So let me have a look here to see if there is. Okay, this is likely come up here. Yeah, that's not really the best example to use. This could be a good example because we're in an upward trend here and it reverses and goes down, sort of retraces. Again, with these patterns, what you're looking for. So even though I'm going through the charts now and it is quite difficult to find the patterns, so I just want to give you an example. So let's say you understand how all of these patterns work, right? You understand the rectangle, the flag, the pennant, double bottom, triple bottom, all of these patterns. You understand the harmonic patterns as well. When you're looking at the chart, hopefully we'll get you to a point where it just comes natural to you. You'll see these patterns forming. So think of it as your arsenal, right? Right now, you might only have the harmonic patterns. You might only be able to identify them. You might not be able to identify these, which kind of limits your scope, right? But then once you understand these alternative patterns, so even though right now we're just looking for a rectangle pattern, we might have passed multiple other patterns, right? And when it comes to you analyzing the market, you might have a certain strategy that you use, but within that strategy, if you can identify these patterns, it just adds another layer of confirmation on top of your analysis and your trading style. So yeah, so I just wanted to point that out for everyone, even though it does look like, you know, it's hard to find these patterns, just to let you know, once you do come to understand a lot more of them, then it'll be second nature to see these patterns, and it'll just you'll laugh to yourself when you start seeing these patterns, because it's really is it's just insane how you can go from a point where the chart is just alien to you, but then you get to a point where it's like, this is a triple bottom or a rectangle pattern or a harmonic pattern, a certain harmonic pattern. It just amazes me. So let's have a look at this. So okay, this is not too bad, although there isn't much of a breakout, to be honest with you. It's more of like a full-on consolidation. I might just draw this one up because it is kind of difficult to find. So I'm just going to quickly draw this up, right? So so what we're doing right now is we're looking at a trend reversal. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly draw up these zones. So this is the resistance. And then this will be the support. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a bearish rectangle. So we're coming down. So again, we need two touch points of either the support, so both the support and resistance. So that's the first one for the support, second one for the resistance. Sorry, that's the first one for the resistance, second one for the support, and then second one for the resistance. Okay. But then at this point, you could then have the price action come to the middle of this, and then it could break out here. Okay. So then this would be, technically, this would be a price reversal. And then at that point, again, we can get in at the break of this point, the retest of the previous resistance. So we can get in at this point and then take price action on the reversal. But again, primarily you want to be using these patterns to look for trend continuations, because quickly show you guys, we have a really strong trend in Euro USD right now. we have a really strong downward trend. If we're looking for buys in a downward trend, it's not really the best thing to do because price action can quickly, take you out of the trade. And it's not really recommended to look for, to go against the trend, essentially. You don't want to be going against the trend. Unless you're scalping, of course, you can, of course, like scalp in the market at that point. But yeah, so we've got the 2 touch points here, and then we've got the reversal, okay? And we've got the breakout retests, and then we can enter at the retest. Again, we use the support as our stop loss. So I'm just going to place down the long position. So if we enter here, enter at this retest, put that down there, and then again we can measure between the support and resistance, the amount of pips, and then we use that. So it's 149, for example, and then we use that for our TP. So 149 would be there. So around this point. So it's very simple. Does anybody have any questions about how that works? How the rectangle pattern works? How you use it in a trend continuation? Any questions? In the next session, we will be going through. I'm just going to show everyone now. So let's have a look which one would be best. Let's go with the double bottom for next session, and then we'll move on to the triple bottom as well for that session. Does anybody have any questions about how the rectangle trend, the rectangle pattern, how it works within a trend? Any questions whatsoever? I'm going to jump onto Monero now. So let's look at Monero for some trade ideas. Let's have a look. Okay. This is the zones that I had in previous session, and it looks like this zone is holding. Even the price did come down to this support zone. These are the 2 zones that I'd drawn out for a buy on GJ. So let's look at a few patterns. Let's see what patterns are on here. So there's no rectangle pattern in Monero yet. They should be bringing that out soon, adding that to the list of patterns on the scanner. But for right now, let's look at the double bottom and the triple bottom. Let's have a look. So with these patterns as well, you can be really picky with them. You don't need to, go into every single trade idea that gets sent out on Monero. You can look at the price action yourself and sort of look at how price action is moving and where you would like to enter. You can see here that it's almost hit take profit 1 for the triple bottom. What else there? I'm going to look for some harmonic patterns. So let's do the Gartley as well. The butterfly. This was recently. That's incomplete. Let's do a complete one. Odd USD. That's 5 minutes. The patterns that I look for are usually on a higher time frame, so 1 hour or the 4 hour. I rarely look for patterns on the lower time frame. So this was today. This was on GJ again. So that's the Gartley on an hour. So let's have a look at that. This is actually GJ, so let's go to the hour time frame. Let's see. So it's the Gartley pattern that we're looking for, and it is a bullish pattern. Let's double check that. Yeah, bullish pattern. So let's take out all of this. On the time frame. This zone is quite big, actually, now that I look at it. I don't think I refined this zone, but let's see. Let's delete this zone. This wick is huge. Jeez. So let's go down to 1 hour. So the pattern's here. So you've got X, A, B, C, and D. So let's try and draw that up. So X, A, B, C, and D. I believe that's correct. Yeah, that's right. That is wrong. Because perfect. So let's have a look at this. This wick is throwing me off big time. So if this wick wasn't here, we could use, I guess we could drop it to a lower time frame. Actually, let's just use an hour for now. And then we can drop it to a lower time frame later to refine the zone. So I'm going to keep that zone there. The one thing that I would like to happen with this pattern before it shoots off is for it to come into our POI. So I need the price to fall into the POI to break the previous low. Well, to set a new previous low actually. So to set the low possibly around this mark here, and then to set a new high as well, and then to break the previous low, break that high, retrace back, and then to shoot off. So I always use that sort of as an indicator, as a sort of like a trend reversal or an entry zone. So let me have a look. So I just want to quickly place a trend line here. So it set a new low here, set a new high at this point, but then broke that previous low. This is kind of what I would like it to do if I was going to look to enter this trade. And then break that previous high again here at this point. And then I would look for that retracement in order to get back in, or just to enter the trade, should I say. And then what I would then do is, once I've entered, you can then place your stop loss below this X point here. So let's have a look at how many pips that is, so we're not risking too much. So it's around 25 pips we could place. And then take profits, we could do C and A, although Manara does have support and resistance zones that are already marked up for us, which we can use. And Manara also has the TPs here. So Manara's TPs are slightly different because Manara can look back at the previous price action, a lot of the previous price action, in order to give you your take profits. So in that sense, the structure that you usually use for these patterns is C and A for your take profits. But again, like I mentioned, Manara comes up with your risk to reward. So as you can see here, risk to reward is 1.86. And it comes up with the take profit, so you don't have to do much in terms of, figuring that out. But let me just have a double check. Let me just double check this. So it is a really good zone to buy at, to be honest with you. If I remove all of this mess. Yeah. So there's a big rejection. There's a big wick rejection here. But if you look at this, we are in a downward trend. So it's not really the best trade to get into, in my opinion, because we look like we're in a downward trend at this point. Overall, this looks like an upward trend, actually. So, perfect, that's fine. So we're going to end the session there, guys. I do appreciate everybody joining the session. I do appreciate everybody joining. If you do have any questions or anything, feel free to give me a shout. You can drop me a message, or you could join the Telegram group. So I'm just going to put that in the chat now. So you can join the Telegram group if you have any questions or anything about the pattern, the rectangle pattern, or how it works. Feel free to drop me a message. Again, I do appreciate everybody joining the session. Perfect. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.